So to begin with this evening, before Dr. Rath speaks, we thought it might be a good idea if I tell you a little bit about Dr. Rath and the Foundation, what we do and what we stand for. The Foundation is a non-profit organisation, and our money is used to support research work into natural therapies and educational work about the business practices of the pharmaceutical industry, what we call the business with disease. To illustrate our work, I'm going to briefly summarise a few of the campaigns that we're engaged in at the moment to give you an idea of what it is that we do. Our Stop Codex campaign will be where I'll start. Codex is the Codex Alimentarius Commission. It's a United Nations organisation. It lives and breathes the air of the UN system. It's sponsored by two United Nations organisations, the Food and Agriculture Organisation and the World Health Organisation. As you'll see, most of its money comes from the Food and Agriculture Organisation. This, as you will see in a moment, is because Codex is not really about health. What does it do? Well, it creates international standards and guidelines for all food products, which includes food supplements. This also includes many of the things that you don't want to find in your food, such as food additives, pesticide residues, food contaminants, and so on. In the case of food supplements, what Codex is doing, and perhaps the main thing that concerns us as the Foundation, is it's threatening to reduce the levels of micronutrients in these supplements to near useless levels. As regards the additives and pesticide residues and food contaminants, we believe that the levels of these substances are far too high, and that in the long term they are injurious to human health. Now, the creation of these standards and guidelines is highly influenced by industry, the food industry, but also the pharmaceutical industry. Why is this important? Why does it matter? The key reason why it matters is because the World Trade Organization, another United Nations organization, uses Codex standards and guidelines as the benchmark when it adjudicates on international trade disputes involving foods. Because of this, because of the potential threat to a country of becoming involved in and losing a trade dispute, this really acts as the stick to make the adoption of Codex guidelines and standards mandatory under international law. The reason being that if a country gets involved in a trade dispute through refusing access to food with these levels of pesticides and contaminants, it risks becoming involved in a trade dispute, becoming on the receiving end and receiving strict, harsh financial penalties as a result of losing such a dispute. Clearly, from what I've just said, you can see that Codex is not the most environmentally friendly of organisations. By mandating the global use of GM ingredients, artificial additives and pesticides, it's damaging not just ourselves, but damaging the planet as well. In addition, of course, by encouraging free global trade, Codex is also increasing the number of food miles on your dinner plate. Now, there's nothing wrong, of course, with the international trade in food in the sense that free trade is a good thing. But if the food on your dinner plate has been flown halfway around the world to get there, then perhaps we need a rethink of some of these issues. So what is Codex really about? Well, it's a complicated subject, but in essence, it's the primary battlefield. It's a political battlefield where a war, a real war, is being waged about who will regulate and control the global food supply from the farm to your fork. It's about trade, it's about profits, and it's about protecting the pharma industry's control of our healthcare systems. That's where the food supplement part of the issue comes in. And it's not about health. This is why the WHO, the World Health Organization, puts so little money into it. Moving on, the EU referendum campaign. The EU, the European Union, is one of the key players at Codex. It uses its might of 27 countries to try to force Codex guidelines and standards to closely resemble European Union legislation. So in the case of vitamin and mineral legislation, the Codex guidelines on food supplements very closely resemble passages of an equally strict regulatory piece of legislation, the European Union Food Supplements Directive. Now, we think that people deserve a choice in this matter. We think that the European Union should give people the chance, via a referendum, to state their wish to see free access to natural health remedies. So we're calling upon the European Union to protect the fundamental right of all citizens to good health. And we're aiming to collect no less than 1 million signatures Europe-wide in support of this campaign.